everybody. Really glad that a bunch of you were able to make it live for this session on automating your processes in your intelligent intranet. I really want this to be an interactive session. I'll be watching the chat. Oh my God, I was a bit too much coffee today. If you have any questions, either type them in the chat, raise your hand. Ilya will be my amazing moderator for this session, and Ilya, feel free to interrupt me whenever there's any questions. I would love this to be like this was an in-person session, even if we can't. Unfortunately, I hope to see you all in person one day. Let me do a quick introduction by myself. This is me with a good haircut since we're making fun of my hair. My name is Vlad Catrinescu, a Microsoft MVP from Montreal, Canada, and MCT regional lead for Canada as well. I work as a product evangelist for Valo Intranet, an amazing company organizing this event, and also create a bunch of training material for Pluralsight, and the author of 3 books that have nothing to do with today's subject, 2 of them about SharePoint on-prem and one of them about PowerShell for Office 365. For those of you on Twitter, you can find me at Vlad Catrinescu. I know it's super easy to spell, but luckily with the Twitter AI now, if you follow a few other SharePoint people, you just type in Vlad and I'll be one of the first faces it actually shows to you. And I also blog at vladtalkstech.com. So I don't have a lot of slides for today. I'd rather keep it a bit more demo focused. But let's start by talking about what is an intelligent intranet and what does that even mean? We've always said that the intranet is kind of the hub, the front door of your digital workplace. It's really where all of that company-wide communication happens. It's where users go daily for the most important content that they need to work daily to see what's happening. They look there for policies. The internet also links them to the different tools that they need for their daily work. But what can we do in order to turn the internet to not only be a communication hub, but a productivity tool as well? How can we make the internet not only link to tools that are hosted in other locations? How can we actually integrate those tools to be fully part of the intranet? And I mean, there's 1,000 ways to do it. I have David and Ilya here on the call who are amazing developers. And remember, I'm an IT pro, so I'm going to make fun of devs. Amazing dev, they still break stuff every now and then, let's be honest. But most of the time, they're amazing devs. But what if we're not fully technical? What if we don't want to write code, or if we don't want to like actually pay a developer? Because those guys are not cheap in order to integrate tools. And this is where the Power Platform comes in. And this is kind of one of the major products in a way from Microsoft. You have all of the products under the Azure brand. You have all of the products that we use daily, SharePoint, OneDrive for Business, Teams under the Microsoft 365 brand. And then we also have the Microsoft Power Platform, which is kind of dedicated to the power users, allowing people to create and automate business processes without any code. The Power Platform is made up of 4 products. First one is Power Automate, that allows us to create workflows to automate business processes. We have Power Apps that allows us to create custom apps and forms. We also have Power BI that allows us to create and consume reports and dashboards that allow us to make informed decisions. And we also have the newest member, which is Power Virtual Agents. Now, just to make sure that everybody has access to the chat and everybody's listening, can you type in the chat what are the different products in the Power Platform that you have used so far out of those four? Have you used only one or two of them? Have you actually used all of them? Really interested in knowing which ones you're most excited about. But while you guys type in the chat, I see Ilya typed all four. I see, there we go. Awesome. Power BI, Power Automate, three of them. Which one haven't you used, Praveen? Let's see, Power Apps and Power Automate, but interested in others. I find it really interesting how, I mean, those products are still pretty, I would say pretty new, right? They're 3 years old, so especially Power Automate, Power BI. But some of them, Power Virtual Agents, which I see Praveen and Iv did not use, those are pretty new. They're only 3 or 4. Actually, it's been 6 months now that they went into general availability, but that's pretty new for an enterprise tool. So I'll make sure that we'll cover a bit of Power Virtual Agents at the end of this session. But let's start with Power Automate. Power Automate is a cloud-based tool that's part of the Power Platform. And like I said before, allows people to create and automate workflows and tasks across multiple applications and services. Something really important, and something that I'm still personally doing a mistake on. Power Automate was actually called Microsoft Flow before. So I still sometimes refer to it as Microsoft Flow. I'm getting better at it. It's kind of only happens by accident now. It doesn't slip as often, but uh, for those of you that look for stuff online, just remember it used to be called Microsoft Flow. And in Power Automate, we still create flows with a lowercase f. With Power Automate, you can either create your own flows from scratch, or you can actually start from one of the 100+ templates that come in built in that allow you to kind of get started super quickly. And the beautiful thing about templates, it's not only a great way to get started with Power Automate, they can also be fully customized so you can add actions, delete actions, and everything. So now let's take a look. I told you I'm not going to do too many slides, and I've done 12 slides in 10 minutes. But believe me, I don't have many more slides left. Most of the rest of this session will be demos. So let's take a look at the first thing that we can automate with Power Automate, which is SharePoint Online news and page approval with Power Automate. So let me go in a demo site here. So here I'm in an intranet. It has Valo in the back, but that doesn't matter as the stuff we're going to build applies to any SharePoint modern site, whether it's a communication site or a modern team site. We're not really going to talk about Classic in this session, but technically it would still work in Classic. So let's take my first news that I got here. I'll go here, click on it. Because I have the permissions on it, I can simply go and edit it. I can change stuff. Let's say I will add an S here. I can update it, and it's automatic. Everything is just published. But you might not want to have this kind of experience for your intranet, right? You might want to have an approval process for which your news or pages go through before they actually get published. So how can we create a super quick Power Automate flow that enables us to do that? For news and page approval, the trick is really going to the site pages library. Now there's a ton of ways to get there. You can go through the old site content or things like that. I'm lazy, I'm an IT pro, so I just go from the URL and cut down the name of the news until site pages, click on enter, and then I go to my site pages library. That's not a library where you go often. I mean, it's just a library to store all of the pages and news from your site. But something that is really cool is that directly in the ribbon here, you actually have a button from Power Automate. So you click on Automate, then Power Automate. Then you actually have built in creating or configuring a page approval flow. So let me click here on configuring page approval flow. I will click on create flow here, and now it will ask me a few questions. Let's let it load a few seconds. It'll make sure that I'm signed in all of the different services that I need. I will click on continue. By default, the name will be submit SharePoint page for approval. And by the way, if you do it for like 10 different sites, try to give it good names, because if not, what will happen is that when you go to your Power Automate kind of page, you'll see all of your flows, and you'll have 15 of them that have the same exact name. So try to give it a good name. So I'll call it Crisis Communication Intranet News Page Approval. And here I can add the approvers. So who do I want to make the approver? Just to get started here, I will use Justin Brady as the approver, and let me click on create. Now it will take 30, 40 seconds, depending if the demagogues are with us. And it seems that it was actually super fast. So this was really faster than usual. So let me go into Power Automate. Now I'll open this in a new tab. Once in Power Automate, and this will load in a few seconds, I will go into my flows here on the left. And you see here we have already a bunch of flows, but I have the one that I have here, Crisis Communication Intranet News Page Approval. I will click on Edit to edit this flow, and you'll see that most of the work has actually been done for us. What it has is says, okay, when somebody manually submits a page for approval, we're going to get the file properties. And I'm going to go into all of this in detail in a few seconds, but just to cover the logic, we're going to start an approval. If the condition, if the approval is approved, we're actually going to set the content approval status on that page to approved. And if not, we're going to set it to rejected. Great. So now let me actually go in with another user here that is not an admin. That's not Justin Brady. So I'll go on this page, same page that I was on before, including my S here at the end. I will click on edit, and you will see already the button has actually changed. It's integrated enough to SharePoint to actually know that, hey, now I can't just update it right away. What I have to do is I have to submit it for approval. So now I will just delete the extra S that I had, and I will click on submit for approval. Wait a few seconds for it to load. And if we look at what we had at the top here, as something really nice that you can have with Power Automate, you can actually request inputs when people submit the flow. In this case, we only have one input, which is of type text, but we can have other types of input, for example, a date, a number, an email, or something like, or really any of those options. And that's really cool, because imagine that you have a date in there, and that date can decide when will the news be published, or when will the news need to be expired or moved to archive. Instead of always having Justin Brady as an approval, you could actually capture the email here and make it dynamic. But anyway, let's see what it looks like here. Right now, this user has never used approval, so I just had to click the plus there. But now I can click on continue, and then I have the message, the input that's part of the template, and I'll just put here fixing the typos that Vlad did without an approval. Great, and I will click on submit. If I actually go back here, I'll just go back a few seconds. I'm able to see right away that my approval workflow has started. If I click on it, I'm able to go that exactly where that is. So you can see right now, it started for a selected item, and this template actually uses what we call scopes. Now, scopes are a more advanced Power Automate topic, but don't worry too much about them, because the single thing that a scope allows you to do is to kind of bundle actions together to make it easier to manage. It's very useful for large workflows. For a small workflow like this, I don't usually recommend it, because as you can see, I cannot see what's happening inside, unfortunately. So it's kind of one big action block. But now, because I'm logged in as Justin Brady, I can actually go directly from Power Automate in the Approval Center, and I can see all of the approvals that are waiting for me. I can also go to my email. So let me open up Outlook in a new tab over here. And I can see that I have an email from Microsoft Flow. I guess they haven't changed the name here yet. Remember, when I sometimes do some mistakes and I still call it Microsoft Flow. Looks like I'm not the only one. The name is still Microsoft Flow when we get the email. But anyways, you see I have a pending approval, message sent with the request, fixing the typos that Vlad did without an approval. I have a link here that I can click to review the page, and I can see, okay, this is pending. You see, this is the page that's waiting approval because it has the S that is there. And then let's see, I will approve it, and then I will click on submit. Now I have a question from Eve. And Eve, I guess you're from Montreal, like myself, where we have a bilingual. Everybody's English. We talk a lot in English since we're in IT, but we also need to support users in English and French, because by law, all of the software needs to be available in French. Microsoft Flow actually, at least at earlier this year when I was talking to the product team, they still only support one single language. So if your tenant main language is set at French, that will be the language. But if you want, and right now it's really tough because you don't have a lot of message here. So you have this kind of date submitted, comments, things like that. The content of the message, everything that you can customize can be in French, but not the outer layer. I think there's a user voice for that. Let me just find it. Give me 1 second here. I knew I was looking for it. Ilya, maybe have you played with it in French? I know or in Finnish, actually, more for you.
I haven't played that with French, but one approach is actually then to take the templating, not to use templating, but customize. That has been something what I've done in Finland for the couple of customers where Swedish is in a similar position. So they need to have certain things in Finnish and Swedish, and then based on the user language, we are actually sending those emails manually and configuring those using the built-in capabilities of the flow of the Power Automate, but not by the templating itself.
Yeah, so the templates you cannot, but yeah, you cannot change the outline. You can only change the content in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know it's something they're working on, but it's definitely not there yet. as with kind of all of the things Microsoft, and we'll see Power Virtual Agents as well. French is actually in preview now for Power Virtual Agents, so I'm super happy about that. But everything comes in English first. But anyway, now that I go back to my flow here, I'll go back to the page that did I approve it? I did. Let me refresh the page, and now it should actually be published. But what I said earlier is that now that was kind of the template out of the box. But what if we actually want to customize it a bit? Let me go back to my flow here, and I will go into this flow. I will click on edit, and then let's say that I want to change, instead of starting an approval and only having global admin here as an approval, what I can do is I can actually add an action here in front, and I can do find manager. I'll actually just type manager. There we go. I always get mistaken because in my head I'm like find manager, but the action name is get manager. Simple solution, just type manager and you will find it. So I'll put get manager here. Great. Whose manager do I actually want to get? So I want to get the manager of the person that modified or that created the page, maybe. So I can get file properties created by, or I can actually get the for a selected item. So I want to get in this case, because usually when I have, like, say, a holiday request or something like that, I would get the person that requested the holiday, probably the person that created it. But what if here I have a modification, maybe Alexandra created the page, then Vlad modified it, then Ilya modified it again. I don't want all of the approvals to go back to the same person manager. So I can get it the username, the email address of the user who triggered the flow, so the person who's actually requesting the modification. And inside start an approval here, I can actually go into add dynamic content, and I can get the email from the get manager. So this way, it's not only a static flow that always goes to the same person. I can really go to a dynamic depending on the manager of the person. And let's say that I want to actually modify it here, do it as French as possible. Uh, we'll still get the title, besoin d'approbation. And inside the details, of course, right now it just gets the message. So if that message is in English, it'll be submitted in English. And if it's in French, it'll be submitted in French. And here we're going to put, oh my God, come on. Give me a second here. Link, let me get here the link to the item, and we'll put ici pour voir la page. Perfect. Click on save. And now since I only have 2 users in this tenant, if I actually kick off the flow, it would go to the same person, but we can actually just do it really quick. I have saved it, yes. Let me go back here and change the title again. COVID-19 prevention, submit for approval. Let's wait a few seconds, sign in, all is good. Click on continue. We'll add s'il vous plaît, which is the short for please in French. And now if I go to my emails as Justin Brady over here, is it the good one? Not yet. It will take a few seconds until it gets here, depending how fast the demagogues work with us today. There we go. And you see I can still have it. The content here can be in French, but again, the kind of outline is still in English. So this was a really quick, I still have 20 minutes left, really quick demo of how can we automate quick stuff with Power Automate. Think at holiday request, equipment request, and things like that. Instead of having people manually send by email or stuff like that, you can create different lists, libraries inside your intranet, and people would go directly there to request those things instead of going to a separate tool. Now let's talk really quickly about Power Apps.
Vlad, quick
Ilya.
question there. Regarding you created a Power Automate flow by yourself. Is that a kind of recommended practice to use your own account, or maybe use like a service account, which is commonly used over the service? How do you see it?
So the best practice, and that's a good point. There's a ton of best practices, but at the end of the day, what is important to know and how you get there is a bit of a different story. But why it's important and why Ilya brought up this point, even if he knows the answer, is that all of the flows that are actually under my flows over here, what it means is that right now they're attached to my account. It's not like SharePoint Designer that they were attached to the library. Everybody with SharePoint Designer could just go to that library and be able to access it. Those are attached to my account now. If we're going to actually take this flow into production, first thing that you need to do would be under owners here, make sure that you add other people that should have access to this flow. And if you have your IT, if you have an IT security group, or if you have any governance in place, an account that needs to be here, it's important to add it. Now the second part, this is first step, and I'll just add who do we have in here? I have Annie as a user. Let me add Annie. I will click on OK. After I do this, this flow will actually not show up under my flows anymore. It will automatically switch under team flows because it's now a flow that is shared across multiple people. But now, the next step that we need to do is, if we look at who this flow runs under in the connections here, you see it runs under my account. And of course, now I'm the global admin, so just imagine this is my vlad@company.com account. It would be important to have a service account that your business critical flows run under. This way, even if Vlad@company.com that created the flow is not working there anymore, that business process would still be running. How you actually get there, you can either create your flows with a service account, but let's be honest, most power users would probably not have access to that service account. So the best thing that you can do, in my opinion, and again, not everybody agrees on it, there's multiple ways to get to that best practice, is usually you can actually have multiple connections and you can go in your flow. And I don't want to go that deep in this session, but say, okay, instead of using the global admin at Valo Intranet on Microsoft.com account to do those actions, go use the service account flow at Valo Intranet at Microsoft.com. And that will be a service account that has access to everything that you would be able to use. And I guess that's where you wanted to go, Ilya, right?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Now for Power Apps. I really want to spend some time on Power Virtual Agents, since I think not a lot of people have used it, and that's something that I'm really passionate about. I started playing with it this year, and I found it awesome how easy. So just spend a little time on Power Apps, and then we'll go to Power Virtual Agents. So Power Apps allows you to create multiple types of forms and apps. You can create from an app perspective, canvas-based apps and model-driven apps, but something that is a bit less, not necessarily less known, but less used is being able to create custom SharePoint Online forms. And instead of having the same list for everybody and everybody seeing all of the fields in a form, even if some of those fields are not important or relevant to them, you can actually allow people to be a ton more productive by customizing the forms. So let me show you a quick demo, and I'm actually going to, okay, I pasted the link in there. Let me go open the other tab that I had here. You see here I have a SharePoint list, and this SharePoint list actually has a ton of different columns inside, and it actually gets information from other lists as well. But when I click on new, instead of having all of the different uh, fields in a linear fashion, all of them just in there, what I can do is I can actually customize the look and feel. And I can also autofill some fields. For example, let's say here it's a equipment request form. I can say, okay, I am the user. And when I click that I am the user, it will automatically fill the information based on my user profile. If I'm the user manager or the administrator, I'm not going to do that. I need to enter them manually. Of course, I could have automated user manager as well, but it kind of shows you examples of how it's a small thing, right? But if I'm requesting something for myself, do I want to retype my name, email, address, and department, or I can just do it with a radio button? I can then click here on new, employee status, let me click contractor, and then I can select stuff from here. Like say I'll choose on Microsoft, and then depending on what I chose the manufacturer, or let me choose, I think Dell has a bit more options here. You see, I can automatically lookup filter based on the information that I have. This way, all of the information that I showed to my users are actually relevant to the stuff they are entering. Small things, but customizing forms for users makes a big difference in their productivity. Another way from a SharePoint list, you can actually create a Canvas-based app and then embed it inside of your intranet. So instead of telling people how to okay, you want to request this, you have to go open Power Apps and go to this other thing, you can actually embed it here. So I don't know if you saw it while loading, but this is actually a Power App embedded in the SharePoint page that I can access without ever quitting my intranet. So again, I'm more productive because I don't have to go to another application. I'm in the same intranet where I go daily, and I can do stuff from here. Now the custom form that I showed you earlier, I'm not going to show you how to create it just because we actually have a 30-minute video that we're going to post pretty soon. It's not yet on YouTube, but we're going to post it there. But meanwhile, I pasted the link in the slides. And that form was actually built by an amazing member of the community called Daniel Christian. Man, David, because of your jokes earlier, now I can only think of you. I didn't even get Daniel's name right. I'm only thinking of David. But Daniel Christian, and if you guys want to check out that video, how he built this form, it's pretty awesome. But now I have about 15 minutes left, right, Ilya? So I want to cover a bit of Power Virtual Agents. Ilya, you've used Power Virtual Agents before, right?
Yep.
Awesome. How many of you have never used Power Virtual Agents? Just for the fun of it. Let's see the chat. Quite a few people. I see that the link is not working. It's really weird. Is it working? I'll take a look into that in a few seconds. Eve, after the session, I'll make sure to send it to you. Maybe I did it wrong, but I'll make sure you guys have the good link. But okay, let's start a bit talking about Power Virtual Agents. What Power Virtual Agents allows you to do is to create chatbots. So think of, instead of people even going to a forum to request stuff, they can just uh, chat with a bot, enter information, and directly from the chat, you can even either give them the information or you can actually kick off a Power Automate flow. And the best thing about Power Virtual Agents is that they are super easy to build. And then you can publish them in Teams, in Slack, on Facebook, or on a custom website like your SharePoint intranet. So let's create a quick chatbot. The way that it works, I have my bot. And right now I'm inside of the intranet bot. So I have a bot for my intranet. And then for each kind of type of knowledge or conversation logic that I want my bot to have, I need to create a topic. So let's create our first topic. Ilya, I want to make sure you're still awake for your next sessions. So let's create our topic together. You're going into holiday this August, right?
That's correct.
In Finland, and you actually had to put it in an Excel file, right? That you're going in a
Yes.
holiday. That isn't pretty, am I right?
No,
No,
that's sad.
that is sad. So how can we make this better? Let's actually create a chatbot here, and I'm gonna call my topic vacation, information, and request. For each topic, I need to have trigger phrases. So, Ilya, if you have questions about your holidays, what kind of things would you ask your bot?
I would probably want to know how many days do I have left?
How many days do I have left? There we go. What else? Request holiday. How many days do I have left? Let's put here holiday policy, vacation policy. And the trigger phrases are the kind of the words, the phrases that will actually trigger this bot. So we're going to stop at only 4 for now. But of course, the more you put, the better this will be. So now I saved it just to make sure. And now I'll go to my authoring canvas. So here is where I actually build my bot. So let's start with a welcome message. I'll say, hello, and let's say, hello, I am your friendly intranet bot, and I am here to help you with information on vacations and holidays. Great. Now then we can actually ask the user a question. So let me ask the user a question and say, okay, what are you interested in learning about? It automatically puts me to multiple choice options. And let's put here how many days of vacation I have left. That's the first option. Put a second option here, request holiday. I'll take a quick question from Ben in the chat right away. Does PVA, which is Power Virtual Agents, need prior setup in Azure? No, nothing to do in Azure. This is its own service, but it does have its own licensing. So I'm running on a trial now, but you don't need to do anything in Azure. Okay, so how many days I have left? Request holiday, or we can put here holiday policies. Great. And I'll save the response in a variable here. I'll just call it here. I'll just leave it at var, just to, in a way, if I have any developers other than Ilya and David on the call, just because they always name bad their variables, I'm gonna do the same. And you see here, it actually built my conditions here. If it's equal to how many days of vacation I have left, request holiday, and holiday policies. Now for the first one here, I'm actually going to show a message, and I'm going to say here at Valo, and don't tell this to Juha, by the way, who is my boss, but I'm saying at Valo, we have an unlimited holiday policy. So you're free to get as many vacation days as you want. Great. If it's on holiday policies, what I will do, I'll just say you can find our holiday policies at, and let's say I'll just take a link here from the intranet and I'll put it here. And now on the request holiday, we're going to make it a bit more exciting. So what I'm going to do here, we're going to say, okay, great. And we're going to say, great, let's get started with your holiday request process. And what I will do after, I will leverage what Power Virtual Agents calls entities. So what entities allow you to do is actually a built-in functionality that allows you to gather information from natural text. So the one that I'm interested in right now is date and time. Oops, something went wrong. Man, I said the demagogues were too good to me today. Looks like they're taking their revenge. They probably don't want me to actually have multiple tabs open. So let me try to save it this here, make sure I saved it. Then I'll go to date and time here. And you can see what it allows you to do is if you have a user input, our meeting is next Friday, the entity will actually save the date as next Friday. So that's what it remembers. And then the saved value will actually be the date. I can also say my birthday is December 21st, 1999. It will save the actual date. That's what it will remember. So now that we know that, what I'm going to do is I'll go back into my topic, vacation information and request, authoring canvas. So I will go here and I will ask my user a question. Ask a question, but I wanted to identify a date and a time. So what I'm going to say is, when do you want to start your holiday? And after that, I will say another one, when will your holiday end? And I will also save it inside a date and a time. After that, and I'm not going to go just because I have 7 minutes left, and David is next, and I don't want to take from his time. But what we can do actually from Power Virtual Agents, we can actually call an action. So after I get the information from my user, I can actually call a Power Automate flow that will approve this. That will approve this for me. That will start the approval process with my manager. But I'm not going to do it right now. For now, I'll just show a message and I will say, you have successfully requested time off from, and this is why you should name your variables, from var1, which is what was saved here, to var2. Great. So now I created this bot. Now let's go to the fun stuff and start it. Let's say I'll start typing here. I'll just do how many days I have left, and should have probably put holiday days or vacation days in there, but there we go. What you can see is that if I look into my bot right now, kind of like Power Automate, I can live track where it's at in my bot. So you can see this topic got triggered. It showed me my message. Hello, I'm your friendly intranet bot, and I'm here to help. What are you interested in learning about? How many days of vacation I have left? Request holiday or holiday policies. Then I can simply, let's say I'll just go for now, how many days of vacation I have left, and I will get the message. Right now, of course, I didn't actually do anything before under here. In a more production bot, I would do something more interesting. I would say, do you need help with anything else or something like that? But we're short on time, so let me just reset here and let's try our second one, holiday policy. Let's get started with this again, and this time we will go with request holiday. So let me do request holiday over here, and now it will ask me, when do you want to start your holiday? So when do we want to start our time off? We will just let's put here next Tuesday. Let's see if it should be able to understand it. Now, when will your holiday end? And I don't know when it will end, so I'll just put July 30, 2020. It should understand that as well. And you can see it actually understood it for me and was able to convert my natural language into proper technical variables that you have successfully requested time off from uh, 30th of June 2020 to 30th of July 2020. And after that, I could have actually kicked out an approval flow to get it approved. What do you think, Ilya? Would that have been cooler than putting everything in an Excel file?
Definitely. That was
Awesome.
fun.
And then you can do other things. For example, I can do a start over and it will automatically know that, hey, I have a topic that I'll start over, and you can play around with it. I see I have 3 minutes left. So last thing about the bot, something that is really cool is that once you have a bot, let's say your intranet bot, your employee help bot, how you want to call it, you can actually uh, publish it on a custom website. And in case of SharePoint, it would actually be considered a custom website, but you could have it on Microsoft Teams, on Slack, on email if you want, and or even on Cortana if you use Cortana, let's say with a Windows, or if you have a Harmony Kardon speaker, which I have at home. So users could interact with your bot, same bot, but throughout multiple channels. So this is it for this quick session. I actually finished 2 minutes earlier. Does anybody have any questions? And I will actually go get the right link for the video while you guys type your questions in the chat.
Thank you, Vlad. Really, really neat stuff, and especially for the people working with data and wanting to share data in multiple different ways. So it's not only browser, but it can be extended for all these different scenarios. Any questions from the audience about what you saw, what you didn't see?
And I also shared the direct link from OneDrive for Business for everybody, that hopefully this one should work. I did not go through a shortener. I just put the direct OneDrive for Business link. So that will hopefully allow you guys to download the video. Awesome. I think I will stop sharing then, as I see no questions, and I will let David get set up for the next session.